And before we kick off, I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land of which we're all around the country meeting on today, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And said thank you for being here. And I haven't forgotten to introduce our very special guests. I'm just saving them a wee bit. We'll be with them shortly. So For-ethiopia are quite recent partners to us. We have really enjoyed sort of starting up a partnership with them. I'm not going to sort of really preempt the work that we're doing, because our two ladies can tell us a lot more about it, but it has been a real privilege to be part of the work. And I also had the privilege of meeting both of you actually earlier this year, Tigist in the UK and Workanesh in Addis. But she's with us with Tigist at the moment, so we've actually both got them in the UK. And she is a very dedicated humanitarian who was born in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Now, her passion and vision is to bring really positive social and economic change to the country. And after having a career in education, she founded For-ethiopia, which focuses on the education of rural girls, health services and water access. Now, her leadership and persistence has literally transformed communities, and particularly through her development of educational support programs for girls, enabling them to achieve their full potential and creating lasting impact. And she has also, one of the amazing achievements that we haven't listed there is Tigist, who is an amazing achievement, and her daughter, who is a senior researcher at the University of Bristol in the UK. And she does have a PhD from the University of Bath. And her research focuses on addressing inequalities, particularly around poverty and educational disadvantages, with a special emphasis on gender and rural communities. Tigist's work sheds light on the challenges faced by marginalised groups and aims to drive meaningful change in these areas. She's been working for the past 20 years with her mother in making For-ethiopia the successful organisation that it is today, and is also a board member on other NGOs. So a real across the board and a great understanding. But before I go into our first question, you lovely people out there have funded some work on Prudence House, which is the second of the houses that For-ethiopia run, where they support girls in completing their educations, and they do everything for them. And I know we've shared some information and we'll keep sharing more. And we're just in the process of getting funding to you guys for the last bits and pieces to really kick that project off. And then one day, hopefully, I'll be able to come and see it. Let's get everything nice and secure in Addis so I can actually make my first visit. I've only visited online so far, and I'm very sad about the fact that I haven't been out there. So we will kick off. Julie, we've got lots to get through, so we're going to kick off now. There will be an opportunity for questions at the end. We encourage any questions, but if you think of anything when we're going through, you do feel free to share it in the chat box, which can be found at the bottom of your screen. What is it? I think it keeps disappearing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 icons on the bottom of your screen. You can hit chat and you can fill in a question there. Or at the end, I'll also give an opportunity for you to raise your hands. And anything we don't get to, feel free to email us at the end as well. I think everyone should have our email addresses, and obviously you can pop on via our website. So I am going to stop talking, because it's not me you came here to hear from. You came here to hear from Workanesh and Tigist. So let's hand over to them with my first question to you ladies, which is about how you started. So can you just share with us just a bit of information on how For-ethiopia was founded, and just a little bit about your story. How did it all get going? Yeah, over to you ladies.
Good evening everyone. ሻረን ስላደረግሽው የትምህርት ትውውቅ እግዚአብሔር ይስጥልኝ፣ አመሰግናለሁ።
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Sharon, for the kind introduction, and I bring warm greetings to you all.
እንደዚሁም የኢትዮጵያ ኤድን ስራዎች ለምታበረታቱና ለመደገፍ በዚህ ስብሰባ የተገኛችሁና የኢትዮጵያ ኤድ ስታፍ በራሴና በፎር ኢትዮጵያ ስም የከበረ ሰላምታዬን አቀርብላችኋለሁ።
To all of you who are spending your time and supporting Ethiopia Aid and gathered here, I bring you greetings from on behalf of myself and the For-ethiopia team in Ethiopia.
በተሰጠኝ ጥቂት ደቂቃዎች ስለ ፎር ኢትዮጵያ እንቅስቃሴና ስለ ራሴ በጥቅሉ አካፍላችኋለሁ።
In the next few minutes I've been given, I will share about myself and about involvement in For-ethiopia's work.
በመጀመሪያ የምኖረው በአዲስ አበባ ከተማ ከባለቤቴ ከአቶ መንግስቱ ወልደማርያም ጋር ነው። በአራት ልጆችና የልጅ ልጆች ተባርከናል።
First, I live in Addis Ababa with my husband Mengistu Waldemariam, and we are blessed with 4 children and grandchildren.
እኔ ከ30 ዓመታት በላይ በመምህርነትና አስተዳደር ስራ ከጡረታም በኋላ በግል ትምህርት ቤት በዳይሬክተርነት አገልግያለሁ።
I have worked over 30 years as a school teacher and administration work in government schools. In post-retirement, I also worked as a school director in a private school.
በግል ትምህርት ቤት በዳይሬክተርነት እየሰራው እያለ ትዕግስትና ባለቤቷ በአንድ ትምህርት ቤት የውሃ ጉድጓድ ለማስቆፈር እቅድ እንዳላቸው ገለጹልኝ።
During this time, Tigist spoke to me and about her and her husband's idea of doing some water work in a school that didn't have water.
ትምህርት ቤቱ በከተማ ውስጥ ከፍተኛ የተማሪዎች ብዛት ያለውና ከፍተኛ የውሃ ችግር ያለበት ነበር።
The school has the highest number of students, but it didn't have any water.
በዛን ጊዜ በኮምፒውተር ተጠቅመን እንደ አውስትራሊያ ርቀት ካላቸው የኢትዮጵያ ወዳጆች ጋር ስለ ትምህርት እናወራለን ይሆናል ብዬ ገምቼ አላውቅም።
At that point, I never knew that 20 years on, I would be talking through a computer with friends as far as Australia.
ይህ ስራ ትዕግስት በገጠር ልጆች ትምህርትና ደህንነት ላይ በምታደርገው ጥናት ሳቢያ የተገነዘበችውን ተመርኩዞ የመጣ ነው።
This chance emerged out of university research Tigist was doing at the time and her observation of rural children.
በመቀጠልም አንዳንድ ወዳጆቻችን አሁን በህይወት የሌሉት ውድ ጎረቤቴ አቶ ማንደፍሮት አይተንፍሱ ጨምሮ አነስተኛ ህብረት በመፍጠር የኮሚኒቲ ዴቨሎፕመንት ስራ እንድንሰራ ጠየቀች። ሁላችንም ሐሳቡ ታላቅና አስፈላጊ መሆኑን አመንበት።
So subsequently, she asked me and few friends, including my late neighbor Mandafrot Aitemfisu, to form a small group to help her implement the ideas and jointly to support community development work. We all said yes and thought this was a good idea.
ቀስ በቀስም ስራው በማደጉ የዳይሬክተርነት ስራዬን ትቼ ሙሉ ጊዜን በፎር ኢትዮጵያ ስራ ላይ አዞርኩ። ዛሬ ከ10 በላይ ስታፍ ያለው ድርጅት ለመሆን በቅቷል።
Gradually, it started to grow and it became demanding. So I left my role as a school director and became completely absorbed with For-ethiopia's work. And today we have over 10 staff members working hard as a team of For-ethiopia.
እኔ የሁል ጊዜ እምነቴ ከሙያዎች ሁሉ ታላቁ መምህርነትና ትምህርት ነው ብዬ አምናለሁ። ፎር ኢትዮጵያ በዚህ እምነቴ እንድገፋ እና የሌሎችን ህይወት እንዲለወጥ አስተዋጽኦ እንዳደርግ እድል ከፍቶልኛል።
I always consider teaching the most rewarding job And I feel this opportunity is a continuation of that, and seeing lives transformed meant that For-ethiopia had given me a chance to pursue my values.
ከአካባቢ ህብረተሰብ ጋር በምነጋገርበት ጊዜ እና የእነሱንም ሀሳብ በተለይም በፎር ኢትዮጵያ የተነሳ የተፈጠሩ መልካም ተጽዕኖዎችን ስሰማ በታላቅ እርካታና መገረም እሞላለሁ።
Speaking with the community and hearing of individual changes, I marvel at the influence for Ethiopia have had, and it gives me a huge sense of fulfillment. I think Mom covered most of it. Just to add from mine, I think looking back and seeing some of the outcomes is truly humbling in For-ethiopia. And just to add in terms of how it started, I was an undergraduate student, and I was inspired by a book I read at the time, and which spoke about putting people first. And I wanted to understand children's well-being, welfare of children, following that book, which suggests that you leave your camera away, your notebook away, and if you're really serious, be open and reflexive and be open to learn. So and also it suggests that use some commonality, some links when you are talking respectfully to rural communities. So I went to a village where my grandparents had lots of water mills, series of water mills in villages. Although they passed away many years ago, people remembered them. And as a result, they were quite open to answer my questions. And for my undergrad dissertation, I was able to collect like 86% response rate from my survey. And they listed a lot of things: water, health, education, roads, employment, a list of things, that challenges that the community faced. And as at the time, I really think now, thinking back, I was very naive. At the time, I was not sure what I was doing. But I know the situation touched me. And though I got back to the UK, I could not forget about them. And after hearing stories from the ground, my husband and I decided to do at least a water well in one of the schools to help with the help from Mum and the friends she mentioned. We were able to successfully implement that. But when others in Bristol saw this and heard about it, they were really motivated, and that's how For-ethiopia got born, really. And we managed to register in Bristol in the UK as well as in Ethiopia, and that was in 2004. I thought we've shown, if we shown the work in small communities at the time, this is what I'm talking about, my naivety, I thought it would replicate this up and down the country, and change could happen, and the suffering of children could stop. And I hold on to that hope, and hopefully people feel inspired, particularly the Ethiopian community in the diaspora and on the ground, to organize themselves in a small way to replicate this success and bring children a bit more hope through schooling and educational opportunities. So that's how really the background story.
Lovely. And it all started for beautiful reasons, and carrying on some amazing work. And of course, you mentioned, Tigis, you're working across 2 different countries, but working together. So what does it mean for you both to get the opportunity to work as a mother and daughter duo?
ከልጄ ጋር መስራት ለእኔ በረከት ነው፣ ጉልበት ይሰጠኝ።
Working with my daughter is a blessing, and it gives me energy.
የመንሴ ሀሳቡና ጥሪው የልጄ ሲሆን ራእዩን እንድካፈል በመጠየቋ ክብር ይሰማኛል። ልጆችን ማስተማር የዕድሜ ልክ ፍላጎቴና ሙያዊ ጥሪዬ ነው። ለብዙ ዓመታትም ጊዜን በአስተማሪነትና አስተዳደራዊ ስራ ላይ አሳልፌያለሁ።
While the original vision and the calling is hers, I feel honored that she asked for my support educating children is a lifetime commitment for me, and it is a vocation where I dedicated many years in doing this as a teacher and as administrator.
ትዕግስት በጠየቀችኝ ጊዜ በሀሳቡ ተስማምቼ በመግባቴ የተለያዩ ስኬቶችን ለማየት ችያለሁ። በተለይም በልጃገረዶች ትምህርት አመርቂ ውጤቶችን ለማየት እንዲችል እግዚአብሔር አብቅቶኛል። ገጠር አድርጎ እንደተማረ እና የትምህርት ለውጥ እንዳየ ሰው ለሌላ መትረፍና ውጤት ማየት ጥልቅ እርካታ እና መነሳሳት ይፈጥራል።
When Tigis came with the idea, I believed in the idea and I welcomed the opportunity, as this has then led us to successfully transition the girls in their education. And as a rural girl myself, and as one that benefited from education, being in my role of making this happen for other rural girls give me a deep sense of fulfillment and motivation.
ልጃገረዶች ሁለተኛ ደረጃ ትምህርት ቤት ከሌለበት ገጠር ወጥተው ሁለተኛ ደረጃ ጨርሰው ከዛም ከፍተኛ ትምህርት በማጠናቀቅ አልፎም ስራ በመያዝ ራሳቸውን ረድተው ለሌሎች ትናንሽ ሴቶች ተምሳሌት በመሆን ህብረተሰባቸውን ከዛም አልፈው ሀገርን ሊጠቁ የሚችሉ ትውልድን እያፈራን ነው። ለዚህ ነው ከልጄ ጋር መስራት በረከት ነው የምልሽ። ጉልበቴን፣ እውቀቴን፣ ጊዜን የሴት ልጆችን ህይወት ለመለወጥ ዓላማ በማዋል የብዙ ሴት ልጆች እናት ለመሆን በቅቻለሁ።
Supporting girls with no prospects of secondary school from areas where there are no secondary schools and seeing them through their education, including higher education and employment, is rewarding. It has been possible to keep going so far and raising generation of girls that are role models for others, that can support themselves, their community, and even their country. This is why I say it is a blessing, and to be able to work, to use my time and energy and knowledge and work with my daughter to transform many daughters of Ethiopia. It's like being a mother to many daughters. If I add, so working with mom involves a lot of falling out and making out. We are very similar. She has a deep sense of service, which means a lot of hard work, and she's very old school as a teacher. And sometimes her work comes at the cost of her own health, and quite sacrificial, really. That causes a lot of anxiety in me, if I'm honest, at times, especially as she's time is going on, 20 years younger than when we started. At times, she's also diabetic, so at times it becomes too much, and a couple of times at the field work, she fainted and the farmers picked her up, and it's kind of worrying at the time. They gave her sweet drinks and she would just get up and go again. So yeah, we fall out sometimes about missed breakfasts or extensive workload, or some others comment that they don't know her really well, so they comment to me to ask her to slow down, which of course it is impossible. She is determined and she will keep going. On the other side, and on the serious side, I'm really proud of her and admire her strength and the modest life she's very satisfied with, and her dedication and discipline. So she's my role model, who kind of instilled in me her values, loyalty, love for my country, Ethiopia, and fellow human beings wherever, and education, of course. I too love teaching, inspiring young people. I have the best of the world in a way in the UK, as I'm constantly learning, teaching others, researching to generate evidence and applying the best available research evidence into the For-ethiopia's work. So the benefit is mutual, and we are also very blessed with so many individuals here in the UK, in Ethiopia, and beyond, like in Australia now, who caught the vision and support our work, just like Ethiopia it does. So I love working with Mom too, and I also feel blessed that we are working together.
Lovely to hear how close you still are, and I think when there's so much passion from the both of you, there's bound to be drama. If there's no drama, there's no passion. You can't do the work you do without passion. So I think it sounds incredible. Now, and it's been going on a long time. And Tigist, I'd like to put this question to you first. You were the sort of the first initial drive behind this, and you recently celebrated 20 years, which must feel amazing. What are some of the key lessons that you feel that you've learned looking back over these 2 decades about working to create sustainable change in Ethiopia?
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. I hope your supporters will be able to see some of the celebration photographs at some point. I learned over this time, really, I learned how majority of the human race is actually wonderful and caring. So sitting back in 20 years, that's how I see things. The girls in Ethiopia are thousands of miles away, but people care, and people are generally justice driven, and they want to make changes, and some are able to support our work financially. Others offer their skills and time and prayer and encouragement in all sorts of ways. Or some people introduce us to their friends, their schools, their churches, their workplaces, Rotary clubs, running clubs, book clubs. To be honest, without the people who catch the vision and share the load, in so many ways, the past 20 years of achievement would be impossible. So just taking our 20th celebration a couple of weeks ago, there were over 20 volunteers, nearly 200 people there. And the volunteers were running the evening, including my students and colleagues from the university who were serving food, and sponsors that made the evening happen. So I learned how much people are really ready to change people's lives, and how people care for one another, even though we don't hear that amplified generally in the media or something, that people are generally very caring. That's what I learned, one thing I learned. And I also learned how much rural children and their families work hard to change their own life. So kind of without even us being there is a lot of work. They get up very early in the morning. They don't go back to bed until the light is off, because there is no electricity in most rural areas, and there is no power. That's when they stop. They work really, really hard. And I think the other kind of learning lesson for me is about being brave and to act on things when you feel that's the right thing to do. If I looked at my own inadequacies at the time, and it would have been possible. So seeing now over 100 girls finishing their education, being in employment, and we have seen a couple of weddings and over this time. So that has been really rewarding. So I say never give up, and go with your dreams and of doing things, even if it's challenging. You will overcome it through support of others. Things may be daunting, but just start. That's what I would say.
Lovely, thank you. Beautiful, and yeah, good messages, I think, for all of us. Now, did Workinash want to add anything to that?
መጨመር ትፈልጊያለሽ? እኔ ያልኩት ላይ
ትዕግስት ባለችው እኔም እስማማለሁ። ባለፉት የልማት እንቅስቃሴዎች ከትምህርት ተጨማሪ በውሃና በጤና አመርቂ ውጤቶችን አስመዝግበናል። ፎር ኢትዮጵያ አስመዝግቧል። ሆኖም ከሁሉም በላይ የልጃገረዶች ትምህርት እድል የመክፈት ስራ ታላቅ እርካታን ሰጥቶኛል። ስራችንንም ዘላቂነት ያለው መልካም ለውጥ ለማምጣት የትምህርት ዘርፍ ዋና መንገድ ነው።
Okay, I too agree with Tig's sentiment, because in my view, more than any of the important work we have achieved, educating girls is the most rewarding that can guarantee sustainable social change.
ምክንያቱም እውቀት አንድ ከያዙት የሚጠፋ ነገር አይደለም። ልጆች በሚማሩበት ጊዜ አዳዲስ ሀሳቦችን ለመቅሰምና የወደፊት ተስፋቸውን ለማለምለም ይረዳል። ስለዚህ ካለፉት 20 ዓመታት የተማርኩት ትምህርት ለሰው ልጅ በጣም አስፈላጊ ዋጋ ያለው መሆኑን።
This is because knowledge is not something they can lose. As you educate girls and expose them to new ideas, you are also expanding their future prospect. And the lessons I have learned in these 20 years is that education is the best investment for human beings.
No, definitely. Yeah, education is the key to most things, and you know, like it could change so much the world if we could, but it must sometimes feel quite overwhelming, I think, not just to yourselves but to supporters, people that are part of it. There's so much need, so much to do, and I think for all of us, one of the key things to remember is that we address these issues just for one person at a time. It's not all about just the numbers and getting everybody, but it's all about the individuals. Every individual that is helped, it makes a difference, and that goes on to the ripple effect is real, and what it goes on to do. So I'd like to ask this to Workanesh. What you would have seen so many people, you would have heard so many stories, witnessed so many stories. So these stories are played out in front of you. Could you share with us a personal story of you know, one of the people that you have worked with that's benefited from the work that you're doing at For-ethiopia?
ብዙ ልጃገረዶች የሚመጡት ኑሮ ከእጅ ወደ አፍ ከሆነ የገበሬ ክፍል ህብረተሰብ ነው። ረጅም ርቀት ካልሄዱ የሁለተኛ ደረጃ ትምህርት ቤት እድል አያገኙ።
Most of the girls that come from farming, that come from farming households, subsistence farming, and they don't have the opportunity to access a school unless they are working for a long journey.
For-ethiopia የሚያገኙት ድጋፍ የሚያጋጥማቸውን የተለያዩ መሰናክሎች እንዲወጡ ያግዛል።
The support they get from For-ethiopia helps them address and overcome some of the obstacles and many challenges.
አንድ ምሳሌ ብጠቅስ፣ አንዷ በሕፃንነቷ እናትና አባቷን ያጣች፣ ስራና ትምህርቷን አጣምራ የያዘች በመሆኗ በስራ ጫናዋ ከትምህርት ብዙ ጊዜ ትቀራለች። ችግሯን በሚያውቁ መምህራን አስታዋሽነት ወደ For-ethiopia አንደርሂል ስኮላርሺፕ ስኪም ገባች።
And one example, I nearly said in Amharic, one example is an orphan girl that was combining work and study at a very young age, and the school teachers noticed her regular absence from school and her suffering. They mentioned this to us, and she was selected as one of the Underhill Scholarship awardee girls.
ትንሽም ልጅ ብትሆን ይህች ልጅ ታታሪ እና ስራ ፈጣሪ በመሆኗ ከድርጅቱ በምታገኘው ጥቂት ገንዘብ በመቆጠብ እንጀራ ጋግራ እና ወንዝ ዳር ችግኝ አብቅላ በመሸጥ ገቢዋን ለማሳደግ ትጥራለች።
Even if she was very young, she was a remarkable girl, that she was highly motivated and had entrepreneurial spirit. She saved her small pocket money from the stipend. She invests and asks for support, including selling injera, which is a staple bread in Ethiopia, and farming activities, taking part in farming activities by growing seedlings and selling it to the market to supplement her income.
ይህ በጣም አስፈላጊ ባህሪ ነው። ምክንያቱም አንዳንዶቹ ወላጅ ካላቸው በትንሹም ሲሆን የግብርና ውጤት ለልጆቻቸው ያመጣሉ። እሷ ግን ያንን ጉድለት በራሷ ጥረት ለማሟላት ትጥራለች።
This is important because while some of the girls have parents that might farm and bring few grains and vegetables for them, for their daughters, she has no one that makes, so that she has to make that effort to become self-sufficient.
ይህች ልጅ ችግሯን በመቋቋም ችሎታን ያዳበረች ለሌሎች ልጆች ተስፋ እንዳይቆርጡ ተምሳሌት ነች። የመንግስት ዩኒቨርሲቲ ነጥብ ማጣት ሳያዳግታት በስኮላርሺፕ እርዳታው የግል ኮሌጅ ገብታ የትምህርት ምኞቷን በማሳካት ዘንድሮ ተመርቃለች።
She is exemplar to other girls and shown so much resilience, even as she was not selected to go to government university. Through the scholarship, she has managed to enter a low-fee private college and graduated this year.
ታዲያ ይህ ደስታ እና ውጤት የእሷ ብቻ ሳይሆን የወጣችበት አካባቢ ላሉ ጓደኞቿ፣ የረዷት ስታፍ፣ መምህራን፣ የፎር ኢትዮጵያ ወዳጆች ሁሉ ነው። እንደዚህ ያሉ ብዙ ተመሳሳይ ታሪኮች አሉ። ነገር ግን የእሷ ጉዳይ የቅርብ ጊዜ ትዝታዬ ነው።
This is a celebration not just for her, but in the village she came from, her friends at the training center, the staff, her teachers, everyone that supported her. And we had a feast to celebrate this summer when she graduated. There are many stories like her, but her journey is the most memorable because that's one of the recent rewarding cases we had. And for me to add, I know many similar stories of an incredible girls. The point is that they are always striving to change their own life prospect, and us and you and everyone, by coming alongside them, we expedite that success. And for me, the highlight is their sense of collective value, which I see in how they look after for one another, they look up for one another. Those who get food, like Mom was saying, from parents that are farmers, to last them fortnight, will club together to feed others who don't have parents, or parents who have very little capacity to feed them regularly. So I see that coming together in collective sense of well-being, shared responsibility in them, which is quite inspiring. Also, we always try to lead a genuinely participatory way, in a genuinely participatory way. So once we consulted the girls on what they like and what they don't like, and what they would like us to do more or less, and so on, they told us that sanitary pads are important items they really enjoyed having, and they would like us to extend giving this to other girls outside of the Underhill scholarship scheme. And I thought that was really thoughtful. They could have asked for anything, but they asked for sanitary pads for rural girls that they left behind in their villages. And we were fortunate to be able to act on that, and we set up a scheme promoting and it's still ongoing campaign in rural schools, teaching about menstrual health, but also distributing reusable sanitary pads. I was impressed by their advocacy for not for themselves but for others.
Yeah.
Sharon, with you.
I think that's one of the key thing. You know, working one girl at a time, and it kind of leads into the next question I wanted to sort of direct to you, Tigis. But you talk about one of the things there that it seems the girls are naturally learning is kindness. And for me, I think there are two key things to the work that everyone here is doing, is that every person that is helped is a success story, but also that it is spreading kindness, because because to my mind, the day that kindness is what we actually see as the most important thing in people, as opposed to riches or power, is the day we'll see real change in the world. And kindness is one of the most beautiful, but also one of the most positive drivers of change. Now, so Tigis, maybe I could just ask you to just always expand just a little bit on what you're just saying there. So you've been in the sector for a long time too. You have a PhD in development. You work pro bono across other NGOs, etc., and collaborate with your mother in For-ethiopia. But you've already shared some. But maybe just about what do you think is the reason for For-ethiopia being so successful?
Thank you, Sharon. For me, I think the first is partnership. So meaningful partnership, really thoughtful partnership between communities, individuals, the NGOs, the donors, even local authorities, schools, school teachers, local elders, and children themselves. That kind of partnership-based and creates kind of common sense of purpose, and people can be purpose driven to deliver that outcome. So I think partnership is #1 priority for me, and also I think in For-ethiopia's success, the partnership we build is important, because most of the things we do is actually quite relational, just not just us, but lots of people around us are built in that way. So some mums, for example, in Bristol, who may have lost their children in childbirth, were able to contribute and be able to change that never to happen for other women in faraway places in Ethiopia, through our work with Mothers and Babies First campaign, for example. Or the other thing is actually taking a non-deficit approach. We're really having nuanced understanding about what is on the ground, and coming together and thinking, instead of saying, hey, you need water, you don't have water, actually to work with people, what do you need? And coming up with a solution together and finding strength in that had been really good, because that is where we identified how much people have spent a lot of time and energy to educate their children. They really want them to be educated. It's just became impossible for them sometimes, where they have to walk 20 kilometers or 10 kilometers to access a school. It's impossible for them to do. So by understanding and acknowledging their own maximum efforts and coming alongside that, we can be successful, rather than assuming people need this. Actually working together with them makes the journey easier, and it offers a real prospect for good change for them by doing that. So I would say collaboration, partnership in a meaningful way, and collaboration like with you guys, for example, frees us to do the important work on the ground, because we're not busy trying to raise funds, and it conserves our energy and time to be able to be get results. Yeah, thank you.
እኔም መጨመር እፈልጋለሁ። ከትንሽ በመነሳሳት ትልቁ ውጤት እንደሚገኝ አምናለሁኝ። ይሄውም በእኛ ስራ ተገልጿል።
So I believe from little things a big thing could come, and I've seen that through our work.
This is good. I just pick up on what you were saying there about partnerships. I think that is so important, and it's something that's important to us, of course, to make partnerships with organizations in Ethiopia on that same premise. It's you know, we're not coming in to do the work. We want to talk to people that know best how to do the work, and it's that constant collaboration, isn't it? With it just communicating what's really needed, what's going to work, and not just making assumptions that we know what people need because it's what we need. So it's really lovely to hear. You telling the same stories as us towards different people, but it's exactly the same ethos that we share, and that it is shared by our supporters. And again, I'll come back to seeing people coming in and listening in is because people that are coming in through Ethiopia Aid, we're just connecting them with people like you and with the beneficiaries. It's all about connections and being partners, not just coming up and saying, right, you know, do something, and it's great, and I'm glad we're kind of going down the whole chain. So really lovely. And I've got a final question for you, and yeah, just something that's come up, and so interested to find out some background on it. So we've been working on preparing this webinar with you, and you had this little phrase that was coming up, small is significant. And obviously we all understand the words, but what can you tell us about your meaning behind those words? What's coming from it, and what are you driving with those words?
It comes from the sentiment, like the book by Small is Beautiful. It's just to say, because the problem, if we are going to sit here and talk about the world problem, it really daunts you, overwhelms you, and potentially makes you despondent because it's just impossible to address it. This is really to motivate us to say, even a small change, small effort is quite significant. Transforming one life is significant, and that we have managed to, because of this partnership and wonderful support that we've been getting with people who caught the vision, being able to transform over 100 girls' lives, and lots of work around children who are disabled, children who are orphaned, children with parents with chronic illness such as HIV, children who are experiencing hardship, children like the one mom mentioned, combining work at a young age with their education. All that kind of transformation happened by starting in a small way. And that's why we think our motivation or our motto is small but significant. And that's how we are really seeing it, because that keeps us going without feeling necessarily daunted by the magnitude of the challenges, and global challenges are also challenges within Ethiopia. So that's really the motivation behind it. መጨመር ትፈልጊያለሽ?
ለምሳሌ ውሃ ወይም ትምህርት ላይ ጥቂቶችን ማገዝ በተለይ ታላላቅ ስራዎችን ለመስራት ለታደሉ ሰዎች ትንሽ ሊመስል ይችላል። ነገር ግን አንድ ግለሰብ ላይ መልካም ለውጥን በማምጣት ነው የሚጀመረው።
So, for example, development of water is seemingly small, or educations of one child appear to be small to those who are fortunate enough to do bigger things. That may look small. In my view, changing society starts by changing an individual life for better.
Fabulous, thank you. Well, that's all my set questions. I am at this stage going to hand over to a combination of the audience and to Adrian. So if there is anyone out there that wants to ask a question, you're very free to come on air and ask your question. There is do you know how long it took me to know about the raising your hand reaction? I'd go into these meetings and see all these clever people that could raise a virtual hand, and I never knew how they did it. You can raise a hand with the reaction button, just in from the right on the bottom of your screen, or feel free to pop a question in chat. I think that Adrian, we got a question to get us kicked off with.
Yes, and I see that we also have a question from Lindsay Cook and from Daryl and Wendy Teague. So maybe we can take them first.
Yes. Yeah.
I think Lindsay Cook, you were first to raise your hand, but I see that you have better down. Please feel free to ask a question if you wish.
Thank you. I was merely demonstrating the method and the result of raising a hand. So instead of raising a hand, I'll raise a drink and say, thank you very much, for Sharon, for organising, and thank you very much for the two main speakers. It was very, very interesting, very moving, and thank you for your presence. So my hand is now down. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm glad we came to you with the raised hand, though. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you, and cheers to you as well then. And I will pass the floor to Daryl and Wendy. If you have a question, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. My first comment would be that your talk has been absolutely marvelous, and your ability in your language and expression is brilliant. And if that's one little lady educated in the whole scheme, it's a mountain of success. So well done. Now, a question too is to say that what are the university available places for young secondary school graduates to get to? And what is there a fee that they have to pay, or that they build up a debt that they have to pay back to the government? And how many universities are there in Ethiopia? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Darren and Wendy. And thank you so much for your encouragement as well, Lindsay. The question around the number of universities, I'm not quite sure how many, but there are growing number of universities available now. In the past, they were very handful, but now private sector as well as the government universities are multiplying. The education for those who get the score the government expects in matriculation is seemingly free, which means they accumulate debt. So there is a shared cost idea. The idea is just like the UK, when they finish and they get employment, they will eventually pay it off. But that is quite prestigious to go to government universities, and it's really highly competitive because the spaces are very few. For rural children in particular, in our case, it's really like climbing a mountain, truly climbing a mountain, because they come from very poor educational background, poor quality educational background, where there might not be proper desks, there might not be trained teachers, a lot of other quality related and learning related challenges they experience. So when we get them, we have them from year 9 to year 12. And that's where we really try to expose them. So one of the thing we do is we run a tutorial for them, extra tutorial time. We take them to Addis Ababa to get inspired to visit universities, science museums, a lot of things, and I'll share some photographs with Sharon in future to show you guys our extracurricular activities. Now, because we are aware that only few of them make it to higher education in a government-funded university, we've been preparing and set up a scholarship scheme to send them to private low fee colleges. So we have some students in learning midwifery, some of them that Mum mentioned earlier, graduating in accounting, some doing sewing classes, a lot of things that can translate into income generation quickly and gives them economic independence as soon as possible. So there are fee paying as well as government free, seemingly free ones. And but we are we are very realistic. Not many of them be able to get to that competitive universities, and we prepare them for alternative opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We still have time for a couple of questions. So I have one that I received through the chat. And if you come with any other question, please feel free to raise your hand. So the question is, looking ahead, what gives you hope and what will For-ethiopia do in the next few years?
What gives you hope for the future, thinking about looking ahead?
ስለ ወደፊት ሀሳብ ለእኔ ተስፋ የሚሰጠኝ የልጆችን መነሳሳት ስመለከት አብዛኛዎቹ አንድ ቀን እንዳንቺ ሌሎችን ለመርዳት ድርጅትን ከፍታለሁ ብለው ይሉኛል። ይህ ስለ ወደፊቱ ትውልድ ተስፋን ከፍተኛ ተስፋን ይሰጠኛል፣ ያስደስተኛል።
So what gives me hope is the motivation of girls themselves who say to me, to her, one day I want to be like you. I want to set up an organization similar to For-ethiopia and help other children like me. To me, this warms my heart and gives me hope for the future generation. From my perspective, yeah, I do agree that the motivation of the girls and the parents' effort gives me hope. Change is possible, and people's generosity and kindness and catching the vision encourages me to keep going forward. And in terms of your question about, did you say what is, Adrian, could you come back?
Yes, of course. What is in the pipeline? What are your projects for the next few years?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Sorry. For-ethiopia is going to specialize in education. So we are moving on from water work and health work, and we are shifting to advocacy for water and health because it's becoming, for capacity reason, we're very small and the work is big. We've done 34 villages now with clean drinking water, over 27 rural health posts that we have equipped, and 4 health centers we have worked with as well. So now we are moving to advocacy, but specializing in education where we have strength and passion about girls' education in particular. So by specializing in that, we are setting higher goals. So for example, well-being in educational setting. In our recent study, we discovered the over 30 schools that we have been working with. Not a single child had been to see a dentist or optician or hearing test. And some of the dropout in school when we are investigating in my research are as a result of simple things, simple correction in eye correction. So we've managed to change one of the girls who used to read like this in For-ethiopia scheme, for example. She says she felt she was born again by having glasses. Because For-ethiopia managed, staff managed to notice it, and they took her to the capital city to get some corrections done, and now she can see. In dropout cases, I discovered people saying, "Oh, my child develops headache when he goes to school when looking at the blackboard." It's actually very easily correctable things. So we want to do a bit more health-related, well-being related campaign in schools. We want to continue working on alleviating sanitary pads, shortages and problems girls face in rural areas. We want to start summer schools so that the problem I just mentioned about quality of education, to help them to catch up. We want to do that. We want to support the higher education students to get into different vocational skills in particular. So we have a lot of works we want to do around that, including the continuation of work with the disabled children and children with learning needs, supporting many schools, installing playgrounds and trainings, and so forth. So yeah, we have busy strategic work we want to do, and I'll share with you many of this.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Always lovely to see the people that we're talking about. So we see you, and now we see the people that you're supporting and talking about. Thank you. Thank you so much. So thank you, I suppose, for not just your time, but for your sharing such inspiring stories. So beautiful to hear them and to hear them straight from yourselves. And of course, thank you so much to everyone that's taken the time to attend. And we will be sharing a copy of this with everybody, so you can rewatch it and re-listen. We will be showing, I think, through that, Tigis, you've mentioned a few times sort of photos and images, and Tigis did actually send us a while back some beautiful bits of video and everything. So we'll try and make sure that we keep some of those bits together, and we'll gradually share those with you. For-ethiopia is certainly a project that's it holds a place in my heart. I'm really keen to fund some more of the education work. I've got a particular passion for, you know, some of the girls with their more vocational studies and everything. Tigis and I have spoken about that, so we will be sharing with you some of the ways that that you can get involved and help as well. But you know, I think it's more about sort of taking away with the difference, and really seeing the difference that you're making when you come in and do this work. Each one of those girls that you've just seen on the screen, her life has been changed, and you know, a dramatic change. And of course, and I think, you know, Lindsay's, so Darius said, you've got the perfect example. Workinesh was really keen on making sure her daughter was educated, and look what that's done. So it's fantastic to see. Thank you so much. If you have any questions when you come out of this, think, I wish I'd asked, please just pop them on an email to us or give us a call. If you speak to Amy or Adrian on the phone as well, now you've seen their faces too, you know who you're speaking to. We're a really small team. We love to hear from anyone at any time, so do feel free to get in touch. Otherwise, I will bid you a good evening, unless with people in WA, a good afternoon. Be safe. Wish you all good health, and please stay in touch. Great to see you all. Take care. Thank you.
Everyone. Goodbye. Thank you. Have a nice evening.